If you've rented a property, you know all too well the deposit game. You end your lease, you clean up and down, and you hope there's no funny business when it comes to getting that deposit back. Well, our next guest, which you see on billboards across the valley, says you have rights when it comes to that departing rental.
That's right. Matthew Hoffmann is here from Battleborn Injury Lawyers. He knows a thing or two about your rights. He joins us now with more. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. I don't rent anymore.
No.
But I wasn't all right when I did.
Well, yeah. I went to law school and college, so I rented a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, man.
right.
It can be tough. We've all been there before. You're moving out of a rental property. All of a sudden, that deposit you think is coming back because, hey, you bleached the tub and you did this and that and made sure everything was clean. You puttied all the holes.
Right.
And they still don't give you back the deposit.
Yes.
What are your rights in that case?
You know, it all starts with when you move in. So the best thing you can do is to be meticulous in documenting any pre-existing problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking, you see a stain on the carpet, make sure they write it down. If you see cracked hardware, like in the cabinetry, cracked tile, anything, make sure it gets written down. And if possible, especially with smartphones, it's easy.
Right.
Take a photograph of it.
Yeah.
And then when you complete the process, email it to management and say, hey, here are the problems I saw with the apartment when we did the check-in. And now save a copy for yourself, and you've got proof when a year later or so you check out. Now, in Nevada, they have 30 days after you check out.
Gotcha.
They either have to give you your deposit back, or they have to give you an itemization as to why you're not getting it all back or any of it back. And they have to list all the different things they're holding back. Well, you can look at that, and you say, well, you're charging me for this, you're charging me for that. I have proof that was already there.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what I recommend is you then serve it's called a demand, where you say, hey, I dispute all these things. You submit the proof, and I recommend you use a certified letter. So that's where they have to sign off that they got it. You have proof they got what you sent them.
Yep.
And that also then gets you in the door, if necessary, to go to small claims court. And then at that point, most of these things resolve.
Because they don't want to have to deal with the lawyer in the court. They just want to get you out of the way. Yeah.
And if you did everything right on the front end,
Yep.
why are they going to fight it? They know they're going to lose.
Of course.
You really do have to be on top of it.
You do.
In this situation.
Absolutely.
And I did smarten up this last time I rented. I have a file on my computer of photos of the entire house. No, I did, room by room.
It's smart.
Because, I never had to use them, but I held on to them.
Absolutely.
Because you got to think ahead.
And it's important to email them so you have a date stamp.
I do the exact same thing with rental cars. Whenever I get a rental car, I go around. If I see anything that might be a scratch, I'll take a picture just so when they come back around and try to blame it on me, I have something. What about break-ins if you're in an apartment? Let's say there's just kind of a rash of break-ins happening in the neighborhood. Is that your responsibility? Is that the apartment company's responsibility?
I mean, it's both in the sense that, first and foremost, everyone should have a renter's insurance.
Of course. They're so cheap, too.
It's very inexpensive, and it's very important to have to
Yeah.
protect yourself. But what you're referring to is criminal activities,
Yeah.
safety in an apartment complex. And the rules on that, they don't just apply to apartments, they apply to any business, parking structure, the businesses on the strip. When you have an area that's a fertile ground for crime, meaning there's a lot of criminal activity in the area on an ongoing basis, you owe a duty to the tenants to provide reasonable and adequate security to match that level of criminal activity in the neighborhood. So we have some areas of town that aren't the best, and there's a lot of crime. But you'll see apartment complexes that advertise 24/7 surveillance, guard-gated community, on-site security, right? Well, why are they doing that? Two reasons. Number one, they have to, because it's a fertile environment for crime and they know it. But number two, they want you to rent from them. They want you to feel safe.
Of course.
And when you see all these things, you think, well, this is wonderful. I want to rent from them. But I've actually represented clients where they were living at this apartment. They're walking through the community, and they were held up at gunpoint and shot.
Wow.
And we held the apartment complex responsible for not providing the security that they said that they would.
And that leads us to the next thing. It's not just break-ins, injury that happens on the property of an apartment complex as well. They could very well be liable for that.
Absolutely. And the most common one we see is in the common areas, here in the desert, there's a lot of desert landscaping. And it's very beautiful and it looks very nice. But it all has to be irrigated. And whether it's an apartment complex, again, any property, if there's the desert landscaping with irrigation, whoever owns and controls that irrigation, they have a responsibility to ensure that the water doesn't flow over onto the sidewalk and into the street. It can be very dangerous. Now, drive around town, you're going to see it all over.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you see it everywhere. But let's say that that happens in an apartment complex. You know, it's not necessarily just the water. It can bring with it soil, rock debris. It can be dark, and you're just walking on a sidewalk, and all of a sudden you slip and fall, and you're injured. Well, if that happens, call our office. You have a potential case.
We run out of time. I want to point out one thing. We're talking just before we came live. The phone number's there on your screen. If you ever have a question about, now, you don't do rental property lawyer, so this is just advice. However, if you needed to get in contact with the right attorney, they could call your office and you direct them to whoever they need to be directed to.
Absolutely, and it's free of charge. Why rely on Yelp and Google or the Yellow Pages for that matter to try to figure out who's good? Call us. If you need a family lawyer, I'll refer you to the family lawyer I would go to.
Fantastic.
If you need a will drafted to protect your family, I'll refer you to the attorney that drafted mine.
Thank you for joining us.
You got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You heard Matthew. Save Battleborn's number under attorney on your phone. Get the assistance you need from trusted attorneys. Call today for a free consultation. They can answer any legal question.
That's right. Let the law team at Battleborn Injury Lawyers help you. They are located on West Twain near the 215 and Town Center. Their phone number and website are right there on your screen. Battleborn Injury Lawyers is a proud sponsor of the Morning Blend.